3M is a very well-known innovator in most of the spheres. So could you please tell us how 3M manages to be the jack of all trades, but at the same moment, master of those?
We have a long tradition of making significant investments in our R&D community. I had for a year and a half the pleasure of leading in EMEA, particularly in West Europe, 3M's commercialization initiative. All of the technology platforms that we have, 56 technology platforms, all the markets that we serve, that we have identified as being core for us, some 20 key markets, require specific solutions. And what we have that I think is quite unique to 3M is the ability to link our technology platforms to specific market needs. And we work cross-company, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are in one part of the company and you have a unique solution there, that finds a way into another part of the company. We share that. We share all of those solutions and IDs. And we do it in many ways. One particular way is that we have a very, very active R&D community globally. So they have a tech forum that is very actively looking into what are the needs of our key markets, what are the needs of our business groups and divisions, and what is the technical community offering to help with that. Because a company that sort of gets something like 3,500 to 4,000 patents a year, you need to be a little bit careful where you place your bets, because the risk is obviously that you get too diluted and not focused enough. Mm-hmm. So far, I think 3M have something like 120,000 patents around the world. And we want to continue to drive that. But we also want to make sure that we continue to really be focused on the top opportunities that improves lives of people, that improve companies' performance, and also obviously benefits 3M, right? We have found this to be the driving force of 3M, why we are considered to be this jack of all trades, right?
I would say that it's a perfect blend, because it's a perfect blend of different things. But one of them is that you really spread on numerous markets and technology fields, but at the same time you keep the focus. Innovation is part of your DNA. And as we know, Russia has gave birth to also numerous innovations. So do you have any plans, or probably you do already perform some kind of research here in Russia? So
actually we celebrate 30 years as a corporation in Russia this year. Mm-hmm. And we are very, very happy about that. We have today 2 manufacturing sites in Russia. We have in one of the sites, Volokolamsk, which is fairly close to Moscow. Mm-hmm. We have also an R&D center dedicated predominantly to our PSD, respiratory product line. Mm-hmm. We also have a cooperation with one of the universities in Kazan. Mm-hmm. So we are very committed to develop products in Russia for the Russian market, but we also have the ambition to export those products. Mm-hmm. So for example, what we do here is that in the case of personal protection equipment, respiratory protection, we develop a product called V-Flex with a valve that makes it easier for the user to breathe while using this respirator. And obviously it has a great need within the Russian industry. That is our core market. But we also sell that product to the CIS countries, and we also sell it into several European Union countries. We also have a center here for developing corrosion protection products. And obviously, with the great gas industry, the oil industry in Russia for the oil pipelines and gas pipelines, a very, very important product. I often say that I would like to see Russia as a sort of a copy of China, right? Where 3M invests not only to develop products, but also invests to invest in R&D and develop more novelties for the world. We have roughly 50 R&D centers around the world, and we only have one in Russia so far. So let's see how we can work on that.
I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best. And yes, speaking about the protection products, I will turn a little bit to the pandemic. Of course, it stressed the whole world. And 3M, you have hundreds, if say not thousands, products related to people protection, and of course related to healthcare. Right. So the pandemic stressed everyone, and I guess you experienced even more stress because the demand grew dramatically, and you need to produce more and more products within a shorter terms. So what was your key pills to manage and to answer this challenge?
And it was a challenge to, obviously, to people that was affected, to countries and also to the industry. Particularly, obviously, what we refer to then as the PPE industry, where we are a major, if not the leading player, personal protection. The demands did not only increase, they went skyrocketing to the roof. And we did everything that we could in the beginning there to accelerate our manufacturing capacity. So in 2020, we doubled our global output of respirators and produced more than 2 billion globally in that year. And obviously, we are continuing to invest and try to make sure that our products are available for as many healthcare workers, as many first responders, as many people in various administrative roles as possible to protect the people that protect us. We realized very early that we cannot fix this by ourselves. So partnerships with other manufacturers, suppliers is critical, right? So we initiated, particularly in the US, a program to figure out a way to sterilize already used one-time respirators to be able to reuse them because the lack was so great. We obviously shared our expertise around technologies and regulatory with other partners to enable us all really to really make a difference here. And we also started partnerships with other industry companies. And again, mostly in the US, right? 41 Cummins is another one, where we, with the help of their manufacturing capabilities, increased the volumes of filters for reusable respirators. So it is a series of things that we did during the year to ensure that we did everything that we can. And unfortunately, it looks like we have to continue.
As we say, necessity is the mother of invention. So what were your findings within the pandemic? How did you transform your business processes?
Personally, I am super impressed how the world adapted so very rapidly to this pandemic and the change that it meant to all of us. Back in March 2020, we decided that the situation now is so dramatic. So to be able to protect our people and to protect obviously our customers and partners, peoples as well, we went more or less to remote work all across, with the exception of our manufacturing facilities. Our manufacturing facilities, for obvious reasons, here in Russia and across the world, we moved everything that we could to web-based solutions, electronic solutions. We have today almost everything that we do in a paper-based country as Russia, where you still need signatures and you need stamps, right? And all of that stuff. But we have moved as much as we can into a non-paper-based or rather an online process. So we are at 95% of everything that we need to do of our internal processes are today online. That obviously is focused on our administration roles, our sales and marketing and accounting and logistics processes, right? But as I said, the manufacturing side is still very much needed to be managed as we do today and as we did yesterday. And I am super impressed how people have tackled this and how resilient people have been. We have had people for more than a year now that have been home, and they are still able to continue to operate in a very, very professional way and doing their tasks. And we find ways every day to improve how we operate. Personally, I ask myself how the future will look like. This is more and more the new normal. Do we need to travel in the same way as we did yesterday? Do we need the same office spaces as we had yesterday? Could be debated. I think that when we now operate with a very, very small number of people in our facilities here in Moscow, in our head office, and very small group of people in Minsk and in our manufacturing sites and so forth, where we maybe have 10% of our employees still in the office space. Well, maybe the reality is that when we are back to full, it will be 40-50% of the people in the offices, and we will continue to operate more and more flexible and more remotely. And by that, getting sort of benefits from that by allowing people for planning their lives, but also being able to be more effective in their work life.
Definitely, I see lots of people who really tasted this blend when you have more time for your personal things to do, because you don't spend hour or 2 hours traveling to the office. So that's it. Just a bit of it already makes us happier when you may sleep a little bit more, and etc.
Yeah. The system has enabled us to work smarter, right? Yeah. And the question is, do we need? So part of me really like the fact that we will be able to go back to the office when all of us have got our Sputnik, and we will be able to go back to our office and meet in person and so forth. But the other side is obviously, do I ask an administrator, a person in our customer service organization or in our logistics to sit in a car 2 to 3 hours a day? Or do I ask that person to spend 2 or 3 days based at home and perform the duties as effectively and finding a good life balance, and really have them in the office where they need to be there and to interact and have that social interaction with their colleagues and so forth? I think we need to accept that is one of the great learnings from this pandemic. For many companies, I think it will also be difficult actually to get their people back, right? I mean, I've heard about several American companies that have said that this is the new normal. We will not go back to the office ever. We are somewhere in between. We very often are somewhere in between.
Yeah, but to my mind, that finding something in the middle, like we say, a golden middle, is the key. Well, let's get back to your history a bit. So you started your career in Russia back in 1996. It was the office of a Swedish company. Then in 2000, you left Russia, and now you're back after 18 years as a general director for Russia and CIS. So I'm sure you see lots of changes happen to business, to the country. So please name the most critical, the most main, the most impressive ones to you.
So I actually came 95 as a student to the State University in St. Petersburg, and then very rapidly started to work instead. I realized that life was more interesting outside of the academic world. In St. Petersburg, 96, 97, 98, it was quite exciting years, right? We had at least 2 crises during that time. A lot of the fundamentals were quite challenged. When I came back at the back end of 2017 to Moscow, I realized rapidly that what I had expected was also reality. And that was clearly that the institutions were significantly improved. Authorities, governmental and banking institutions were significantly improved. The economy had rapidly and significantly changed. The structures were much more comparable to the ones that I have seen when I worked in Hungary or in Germany or in Sweden, for that matter. And I think that where we are now is somewhere completely different, and really enable us to do business in a more transparent, accurate, long-term way. And I applaud those initiatives by the authorities. I mean, making this a significantly different place than back in maybe 96, 97, right? For a company like us that wants to be here for the long run.
What about the main changes that happened to you? You came here as a student and quickly switched to business. So now you're back as a top manager, as a leader. So what have you brought here to 3M team? So what do you plan to continue to implement here in your company?
So I have roughly 20 years with 3M now. This is my second managing director position. And I must say that what always have impressed me, regardless where I've worked in Europe, is the quality of our people and their willingness to contribute, their willingness to work hard, their willingness to speak up when they see things that we can improve. Maybe what I have contributed with, coming from the culture background that I do, is the element of trust. Control is good. Control is always needed. But in the spirit of one of our earliest managing directors for 3M, CEOs for 3M, William McKnight, you need to trust people to allow them to grow, to allow them to make mistakes, and to allow them to sort of foster a willingness of trying new things. And I've tried to bring that with me, more probably based on, as I said, maybe to an extent from my cultural background, but also from the various roles that I have had in 3M. Mm-hmm. We realize that control and making sure that we do things in the correct way is critical, but it's also important to allow people a little bit of freedom to develop themselves. And when you do that, you will realize, at least my experience, is that they will raise to the bar and beyond the bar.
Totally agree that trust probably is the most important thing that the leader can bring and demonstrate and incorporate. Because I might say that the lack of trust nowadays is the largest challenge for the whole world. A big topic for me is the sustainable development. So more than 40 years ago, 3M established groundbreaking pollution prevention phase program. So you have lots of recent initiatives, shift to renewable energy sources, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, increasing circular solutions, and etc., etc. So we all know that 3M is committed to a science-based collaborative approach to solving shared global challenges. What are the main programs you perform here in CIS in Russia within the Sustainable Development Agenda?
So if we take a step back first and look at the global arena. So as you said, pollution prevention phase initiated back in 1975. 3M, one of the first global companies that made a significant commitment to this. I think that we have saved something like 2 million tons of pollution to date. We have reduced our greenhouse gases with some 70% since we initiated this project. Our headquarters in St. Paul is already operated on renewable electricity, and we will continue to roll this out. So by 2050, all of our operations in 70 countries will be fueled by renewable energy. But to your point, right, what are we doing here? And I think that Russia is now, and the CIS countries, Russia is now in a very interesting position where the transition is really taking off. We are looking into how we can get renewable energy into our manufacturing sites. Mm-hmm. Still a little bit difficult to manage that, but it's clearly our ambition, right? I would like to move our people working in the bigger cities to move from petrol and diesel cars into hybrids or electrical cars. Still a little bit challenging, but we would like to do that. And obviously also in our offices, right? I mean, we would like to do more about recycling of paper, plastic bottles, and what type of energy we use, and etc., etc. And I think that if several big international companies start to push that together with Russian companies that we now see also really get eager to get into this, then that will be in a way a start on this journey, because there will be a demand. The social side of this is very important for us. We have a strong relationship with WorldSkills Russia. We had the opportunity to be a partner 2019 in Kazan, and we will continue obviously in this year. And we do that because we want to make sure that we help young people to work with the newest technology in the safest way, and also then in an ecological and cost-effective way. We are very committed to e-learning. We believe that is a strong way for us to share our experience and knowledge with customers, but also with a broader audience. One of our flagship projects for many, many years in Russia is safety on roads, where we talk about how do we make sure that we protect people, and how do we make sure that we have environment in the streets that are safe for most. But if you talk more about products and solutions, so 3M have a product line here of Novec products that are called in 3M Novec products, that we actually have a manufacturing of or a canning operation of in our Alabuga facilities. And the other element is the decarbonization, where 3M have products for making, for example, cars lighter, and by that using less gas, using less petrol and diesel fuel, and by that also reducing the outlets of emissions into the air. It's allowing for our technical solutions to be used in the Russian industry to help the environment as a whole, and really also looking into what we as an organization can do to ensure that we tomorrow stand as one of the drivers for sustainability across the Russian Federation and the CIS countries.
That sounds great. I'm totally agree. Being this huge and large company and being the perfect example to the other industries and markets. As we all know, the new United Nations Global Compact strategy says that we need to do more in order to engage more SMEs into this travel to our sustainable future. Let's get to the products, to what we love about 3M. So it's a question, of course, about Scotch, because personally, me, I learned that 3M means or is the inventor of Scotch not very long ago, frankly speaking. And you have numerous products that most of the people, they don't even know that it's also invented by. Really, in Russia, you can't underestimate, because it's a part of our culture. So as we say, you can fix everything with the help of Scotch, and in case you cannot fix it, then you use not many Scotch.
So the internal story is this. One of 3M's first customers were in the automotive industry in the US. So we started as a company that made abrasives. Car industry very rapidly said we would like to have 2 colors on the car. And they were trying then to paint the car, and then they masked it with newspapers and glue and stuff like that. So then they asked 3M, do you have anything that can help us with this? So 3M took a roll of paper, and they only applied adhesives on both sides, not in the middle, right? So when the guys in the car manufacturing sites tried to apply this, it was very, very difficult, because it was very slippery and so forth. So it's said that one of the applicators in one of Ford's manufacturing sites took the roll of tape, and he said, throw it back at the 3M representative and said, take this, pour tape back to your Scotch bosses. By that we took the name Scotch, and then we improved the tape, and it also shows how we invent, because we invent by interacting with our customers. and the users, right? I think that we have good examples in all of our industries. So we have 4 business groups: consumer business group, healthcare, safety and industrial, and transportation and electronics. And I think that we have good examples in those, but I will only give you 2. For example, in our Thinsulate products, which is basically in clothes and in gloves as an insulation material that allows us to move away from goose and feathers from goose and from chicken and etc. And we reuse plastic materials to create this product. So it's good in 2 ways, both for the goose and also for the environment. The other element where you see also a product that has a significant sustainability impact, I think a product that has a tremendous opportunity in the Russia CIS market is our abrasive product range, Cubitron, which is basically pyramid-shaped, precision-placed abrasive grains that enable you to have a very, very precise and much faster processing of every metal that you want to abrade. Half the usage of time to achieve the same result. For the individual that do the job, obviously less of vibrations, less of sound. We want to make sure that our products support sustainability in all ways, making sure that we are producing products that fit into the circular economy and make sure that they really help also our partners to operate in a more professional way. So our products today need to be include reusability, recyclability. It needs to be able to show that they have energy savings, waste reduction, and water savings, etc., etc. So it's really something that we try to live every day in how we operate.
So what I have picked from the web, of course, is that the engineer who invented Scotch, somehow they name a concrete person, Richard Drew, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So so after that, there was established a rule of that 50% of the time that some kind of person is passionate, for example, some kind of person is passionate about some kind of project. So he may take up to 50% of his time and devote it to this very project. Is this rule is still applicable? Or do you have any other rules?
15% rule is still there, and predominantly, obviously, in our R&D community. I don't have any exact figures for that, how it benefits us today, but I can tell you that it is fundamentally rooted in our community. I mentioned our technical forum, our tech forum, earlier in the conversation. And I have so many cases personally where I know that R&D people in my organization have spent part of those 15% or all of those 15% to support someone else, from Sweden to China, or from Russia to France, or whatever it is, right? So it's still very much a living process that enable 3Mers to go after their personal dreams in a way. So I also mentioned William McKnight before. He established a lot of fundamentals. We like to talk about the McKnight principles. And one of the principles are that empower people, allow them to make decisions, allow them to make mistakes, trust in people, okay? Control, but trust, and enable them to really use their good senses and do what they think is right. We still embrace that, and we still talk about that frequently, and we really want to foster that across the corporation, because the fundamental belief is that the person that interacts with our end users, the person that meets our customers and sees the applications wherever they are, in a hospital, in a car plant, in an office, regardless, has the best information. And then that person make a decision and bring it back to the corporation and utilize our capabilities that we have to innovate, develop, tailor in some cases. For me, and the 15% rule is one of them, the McKnight principles are still very valid for us to assure that we are acting as fast as we can and operating at the level that where we want to operate.
I have a couple of questions regarding the Sdg Ambition. It's a program that is launched by United Nations Global Compact. Actually, our company is a student. We are a student for this initiative here in Russia. So I'm inside and I see it is really great. It's a really great initiative, and I'm really optimistic about the results we are still gonna gain. So you took this initiative and you became a global partner for that. So what were the trigger points to become to take this role?
Yeah, and we participated here in one of the opening sessions here. The challenges that we have with ecology and environment and the sustainability challenge that we have, no one can fix that by oneself. It needs to be cooperation. It needs to be sharing of information and technology sharing. The initiative really speaks to that. And I think that was the trigger for 3M to become a patron and a partner of this. And our ambition is clear, right? We want to work with other companies that have an equal interest to manage this. We want to work with the authorities that have this on their agenda. And we want to work in the civic society to make sure that we all pull in the same direction. Because if we don't do that, I think that the outlook for the future will be quite grim. I really welcome that the Russian Federation now have taken a significant stance here and initiated several interesting projects in this field. And 3M, we are really ready to actively participate and support to the extent that we can.
Great words. Thank you again for arranging that and being a big part of this initiative. So what are 3M ambition for the upcoming decade, or maybe longer, if you see it further, globally and here locally, I mean, Russia and CIS?
We announced back in February that we will invest $1 billion in the coming 5 years in our environmental efforts. Very much focused on making sure that we can meet our 2050 target of being totally renewable in all our operations, using renewable energy only. The other side of that, and that's a significant one for all manufacturing companies, is our commitment to save water. Save water, or make sure that water that we have used in our manufacturing operation goes back into the environment cleaner than when we brought them in. Ambition is global. So we look to figure out ways to drive this in Russia and in CIS as well, obviously. It's a necessity for the globe. But to be honest, I am fairly convinced that this is also good business. Both that consumers will think about this, but also partners to us will obviously ask us in the future about how do you produce your products. So the overwhelming target is to make sure that we do everything that we can for the environment. And also there is obviously a belief somewhere that this will be a requirement to be able to play in the future.
I guess those words can as well be as an example as well as an inspirational ones for many. And well, wish you success, and of course wish you to reach what you have planned for 2050.
Thank you, Alexander. It's been a pleasure. We are here for the long run, and we want to do business here, develop things here, and build our presence together with others. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.